world champion. So please, everybody, welcome Charlie Cavanagh. How are you doing, Charlie?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being on the show. So Charlie and I were just saying right now that, she was 18 years old when she won the youth's women's world title. And I thought that that was just so fascinating. I thought that was just absolutely incredible. So now you're turning, well, if that was in 2018, you're going to be 21 this year. Or?
Yeah.
My goodness. So, going into actually, I want to just completely rewind this. And I want to make a note to our audience that she is the first female Canadian to win in the youth world division, in the 69 kilo division, the world title. I just want to really make that emphasized. So, Charlie, 18 years old, you won the world title. When did you begin this journey for yourself?
Yeah, it was actually a really fast journey. So before boxing, I was in judo. I started very young. I think I was 5 or 6 years old. My parents were very strict on wanting me to have discipline, all those things, and I honestly wasn't very interested in the sport. Um, I didn't really like it. I competed a little bit, but it wasn't my thing. And then I had a friend who was in boxing, and we kind of made a pact. I was like, you come try judo for a night, I'll come try boxing. And she never made it to the judo club, but I went to the boxing club, and I really liked it. And my dad used to coach boxing at that same club, so then he started going back, and we started going together, and it kind of became like a thing that we did together. So that was really cool.
That's amazing. So how old were you when you first stepped into the boxing gym?
So I would have been in middle school, I want to say like 12 or 13.
Oh,
And then I had my first fight in 2015. I was 14 at the time.
oh my God.
So in the span of 4 years, I went from having my first fight to being at the world championships with people with 100 plus fights. It was absolutely insane.
What an exhilarating feeling. Did you feel like, when you qualified to go to world championships, what kind of celebration was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of happened so fast, and I just kept rolling with it. Like as I started to get to compete with the upper level names, and even go to the extent of competing outside of my youth division,
Yeah.
competing with some of the older ladies, and I realized it was a possibility, and then I just kind of kept with it, and yeah, it just happened.
That's amazing. Your parents must be so proud of you,
Yeah. My
especially.
dad loves it because like I said, he was boxing coach, so yeah, he loves it.
Did he ever have that idea prior to you wanting to go to the gym? Like, did he ever think that one day, since he coached at it before, did he ever think that you were gonna one day step in there and just take up boxing?
I don't know. I don't think so because when I was younger, he I would have been maybe 5 or 6. He used to go to the boxing club, and obviously I was never there with him, but I think he was very happy that it happened, but
Yeah.
definitely unexpected.
For sure. And it's funny how your parents put you in judo as opposed to taekwondo, because most parents, the taekwondo was like the go-to for
Yeah.
men and whatever. That's pretty cool. That's very unique.
Yeah, and then you get the whole the judo, and so you have a lot of people ask me if I want to do the MMA side of things,
Yeah.
and that wasn't really my route either. I kind of just wanted to go straight with the boxing, and I'm really happy that I have.
Yeah, well, of course you are. The world title
Yeah.
holder.
Certainly paid off.
And I can totally empathize with you. I have in case you didn't know, I had an Olympic amateur wrestling background as well, like the freestyle.
Oh
And I
wow.
had the same conversations. Everybody was like, do you want to take that route of MMA? And you know what? Boxing just really holds that place in that heart where it's like, no, I'm not ready to give that up yet. I'm not
Yeah, it's like once you get bit by the boxing bug, it's for
ready.
life.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what was your prep like leading up to this world title?
Yeah, leading up to the world championships. So, as you know, my coach is Joe Blanchard.
Hmm.
He and I work together a lot, and I'm from St. John, New Brunswick. Not a big boxing place. New Brunswick has a few athletes that go to nationals every year, but aside from that, we're really the underdog province there.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Joe and I really work together. worked around his work schedule because he's a volunteer coach, worked around my school schedule. I'm a student athlete. And it was a really hectic time in my life because I just graduated high school. I was going into university. Like everything was changing.
Of course.
And yeah, so we kind of spent the summer preparing. It was nice that it was in the summer. I got to go to the Continental Championships there in May, and unfortunately, that was in Colorado Springs. Unfortunately, I came second there. I got a silver medal, and I was hoping to meet that girl again at Worlds, but I believe she had a family incident or something, and she wasn't able to make it. And then in the summer, I traveled a little bit we went to Ireland for the Eden Dairy training camp. Yep. And then from there went to Montreal and got some like good sparring camp in with Mary Spencer, funny enough, because I ended up fighting her later.
Right.
And then from there we went over to Hungary for the tournament.
Busy. Just completely catapulting forward. It's like, okay, graduating high school. All right, let's go to the Continentals. All right, let's go to this tournament. Let's go to the Edenberry whole training camp. Okay, now you're gonna fight an Olympian. You know,
yeah.
Like, boom, 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 boom. That must have been really. Did you have time? Like when you reflect back, did you have time to process all of it?
No, like looking back on it, it was such an eventful summer, like an eventful year, but more so just an eventful even few months. And yeah, like I didn't even have time. I remember going to the training camp and then flying home. I was home for like 2 days. I repacked some stuff, did some laundry, and then I was off to Montreal, and then I was off to Budapest for like 3 weeks. So it was the first time I'd been away from home that much, so it was a lot of like homesick, missing like the friends and family and stuff, but like obviously so happy about it at the same time.
Yeah. And how strict was your coach with you with like, well, I mean, did he have to be? How would you like describe yourself when it comes to staying disciplined, staying focused, and kind of you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I would say that my coach and I worked very well together because I am pretty disciplined. I don't walk around much heavier than my fight weight to begin with. I fight at 69 kilos, so 152 pounds, and I normally walk around 155-ish. So I'm not like a big cutter or anything. So my diet's pretty good. Exercise has always been like a good stress reliever for me with my academics. So like that's been fine. So yeah, he didn't have to be too hard on me. Just always reassuring me, always motivating me, keeping me focused up here was the big thing. But yeah.
Well, that must have been very, how would I say, very relieving for him. You know, when you have like a young teenage girl, sometimes it's kind of unpredictable. Okay, how's she going to handle doing something like this that not every teenage girl is doing? You know, for example, I'm assuming because you know you are the first in Canada to do something that you did, I'm assuming that not many of your other friends around your age group are taking on these kinds of opportunities and taking on these kinds of accomplishments.
Yeah, like it was definitely new for both of us because like you say, like a lot of my friends weren't doing the same sort of thing, and I had to try to balance that with a social life. And I think my social life definitely was compromised a little bit, but for good reason. I was prioritizing what was important for me. And my coach too, like St. John Golden Gloves, is one of the oldest boxing clubs in the country. And but we don't have a lot of female fighters. And I was really the first female fighter out of St. John Golden Gloves to make it to that international stage. And so it was new for my coach to be coaching a female athlete, a lot different, obviously. And it was also just new for him to be coaching someone at the level that I had gotten to, male or female. So it was really like just a journey for the both of us together. And it was fantastic.
So it must have been just like a real like, well, like you said, a journey for both of you. What an experience. And I guess it was very left field. Like I'm sure he never expected you walk in and then boom, one like just a few short years, you're off to world championships.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I'll say about my coach Joe. He always believed in me from the start. I mean, when I went to nationals for the first time, I'd only had like 3 or 4 fights, I got upgraded earlier. And like I said, it was very like I was pushing out of my weight class. I was always fighting people who were above and better than me, but I really think that's what made me get good so fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because to be the best, you got to fight with the best. You got to train with the best. You got to always kind of put yourself in situations with people that have a little bit more experience than you. You're not going to gain much from people that, well, that's not true. You always gain something working with anybody at any level. But if you really want to push yourself and get yourself to that next level, for sure, you have to always make sure that there's challenges ahead of you with every single opportunity that you can. And that's amazing that you're experiencing these kinds of opportunities at such a young age. Like, I am so happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
No, I really am. This is amazing. So, New Brunswick, as you said, it's not very populated with that many boxers overall, men or female. I'm from Ontario, so we have Ontario and Quebec have the most, I would say, going to nationals. So I understand what you're saying when, you're coming in as a pure underdog and going in your first nationals. What was your first nationals like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we don't have many boxers here in New Brunswick, and we don't even have a provincials. We just go straight to nationals
Yeah.
because no, there would be no one for me to fight to make it to nationals from provincials. So it's kind of just you have fights. The coach being Joe at the time, and still, he will like assess your performance and then basically decide if he's going to take you. And he decided to take me back in 2016 was my first nationals.
Wow.
And yeah, in 2016 that was only 2 years before the World Championships. So I went and I was a junior at the time, and I fought Alberta. I can't remember the name of the girl I fought, but I fought a girl from Alberta. She was really tall, really strong, and I really just focused on like slipping and hitting, like the very basics that I was learning. And yeah, so that I won my first national title. There was only one other girl in my weight class. And then after that, we decided to try to get a makeup bout while we were there because we came all the way from Brunswick to Quebec. We ended up fighting the champ at the youth division. So we just went up a weight division, and we had a really good fight. It was a strong performance, but that was my first loss.
Well,
So I went to nationals, won, and then lost.
hey, I mean, whatever. How many fights did you have at that point again?
I think I would have had 5 at that
My
point.
God, yeah, just leave that alone because I
Yeah.
came back anyways.
Yeah, so I took that loss. And it took it hard because like I said, like up until that point I had just kept winning.
Right.
And so I fought that girl. I lost and then had my gold medal. And then I came back again 2017. I won the youth division by walkover, unfortunately. There was no one in my category. But each year we tried to get at least a fight. So that year we got a makeup fight with a girl who was 64 kilos in the elite division.
Okay.
And that time I got my first stoppage. I won the fight by TKO in the second round.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
At national level.
Yeah, national level. And still at
Fantastic.
that point, it was so hard to get fights because I wasn't really traveling a lot internationally yet. I'd only been, I believe in 2016, I went to Puerto Rico. In 2017, I went to Sweden, but I was still just getting started on that national, international scene. So even up at my second nationals, I probably only had around like 10 to 12 fights.
Wow. But still, like, do you remember which girl that was in 64 kilos?
I believe her name was Sarah, but I don't know her last name. It
Okay.
wasn't Sarah Callie. It was like Sarah Couliard, I think. But I don't quote me on that.
No, because Sarah Coulier, I know Sarah Coulier. She usually fights at my division, 54, and then she went to
Okay, so it wouldn't have been her.
no,
Yeah, a lot of the girls that I was fighting back in like 2016, 2017 aren't fighting anymore because I know the girl that I fought at my first nationals, she isn't competing anymore. I believe she's coaching.
okay.
And I haven't seen the girl that I fought in 2017 since. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Well, to be continued. And
Yeah.
now that So that was your first few national experiences. Can you walk us through the whole journey going into World Championships, what it was like once you qualified, what it was like getting ready for it, what you did when you actually got there, etc.?
Yeah, so like I said, like the preparation was pretty intensive. I was trying to get experience with as many experienced girls that I could. So Joe and I were constantly traveling, trying to find fights. And I actually went to the Balkan tournament in Hungary. I can't remember where exactly it was, but it was overseas, and I went there in 2017 with the elite team. So I would have been a youth, and I fought there, and I fought a girl from Poland, and she completely whooped me. Like it was the worst performance of my life. Um, and yeah, so it was my first time fighting without my coach because, like I said, I was with Team Canada at that time, and so that was a hard pill to swallow. Um, fighting with a different coach in your corner, as you know, is probably it's just so
Yeah.
different. So I came back from that, and funny enough, when I ended up at the World Championships, my first matchup was with the same girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so honestly, I kind of thought that I had myself defeated before I even got in the ring because I was like, "Oh my gosh, not this girl again." Like she kicked me, like it was not good. She whooped me. So I was really nervous going into it, and then we were all backstage before the fight, and I saw her warming up, and I was scared. I was like so scared, and I was like, well, it's now or never. Like it's gonna happen, and you've done growing since then. Like you can do this. It had been just less than a year since I'd last fought her, and I'd had some more experience with the team and traveling and that sort of thing. So I like put on my like face, and everyone says to me like when I was coming out at Worlds that I looked so like confident, and I was like mean mugging, and I was so scared the first fight. So we came out and got in the ring, and she was like staring me down. I was staring her down. I was like, "Yep, this is it." So
Yeah.
we started fighting, and I realized like, oh, I'm like keeping her off with my jab, like my body shots are landing, like everything was just coming together so perfectly. And
That zone.
obviously, pardon?
Got into that zone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And like the confidence just kept growing from there. And at the end of the fight, when I won that fight, I remember thinking to myself, like, if I can beat her, I can beat anybody. Like the first fight was so daunting, but after that, I was like, I got this. Like here
Absolutely.
on out, let's like bring it basically. And then after that, I fought. So I got to buy the first round. I forgot to mention that. So I got to buy. Then I fought Poland in the quarterfinals, and then in the semifinals I fought England. And funny enough, at the Edenderry training camp, which would have been like 3 weeks before I went to Worlds, like it was recent. Um, and I got to spar with England while I was there. There's a lot of the girls that were going to the World Championships were at that training camp, so I'd gotten to spar with her, so I knew kind of her style and what I wanted to do against her. So that fight was fun.
That was,
Like it was,
okay, like I know what I'm walking into.
yeah, like it was kind of like I had almost gotten the free trial at the training camp, and then I got to really think about what her strengths and weaknesses were, like what I wanted to do to really put on a show, but like showcase what I was good at. So I look back at pictures from that fight, and I can see that because one thing that I'm not typically known for is I don't throw a lot of uppercuts. I throw like a lot of hooks to the body. I have long punches because I'm tall. I throw like my straight punches, but uppercuts just were never like one of the things that I threw a lot of. And there was like a couple pictures of me throwing like really good uppercuts in there because she was a lot shorter than me, and she came in with her head right in front of her. So it was nice to be able to like try some newer things out for me because like I said, I was still relatively inexperienced. I probably had 20 less than 25 fights going into Worlds.
24 going into World Championships.
Yeah.
And you had that
It,
confidence where I'm gonna try something new. Like you're in
yeah.
the semifinals, like, let me just try this out, boink. Like, oh look, it's
Yeah.
landing and continued.
It was honestly really crazy because I never really thought about it up until I was getting ready for the semifinals, and they were talking about how many fights the girls had. And one of the girls, I don't know if it was a girl I fought in the finals or the semifinals, but she had over 100 fights, and I had like 20 some, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, Europe's got a lot of female boxers, and they can so easily travel back and forth to their countries and just get the fights up. I know that one thing about the European girls, they're constantly fighting, like almost every weekend.
Constantly fighting, and at a high level too,
Yeah.
because they're all there, they're all so close to each other. Like you said, they can just travel back and forth. So that's definitely an advantage for them getting that experience. But I was thinking about it, and the amount of high level sparring that I got, I think really made up for the lack of fights that I had. I sparred a lot with a lot of the guys on the team, and traveled a lot. And although they couldn't be fights because they were guys, I got a lot of experience from that. And again, training just with people who were better than myself. So that really prepared me for the experience that I got when I went there. And then after the semis, that was England that I fought there. And then going into the finals against Russia. Honestly, the scariest thing about Russia was the fact that she was from Russia.
Like a Rocky moment.
Yeah, like the whole team Russia was just like, they had so many people in the finals. They were so loud. They were so scary. There was like 4 of us from Canada, and we're all just like sitting there like watching the fights, and you can just hear Team Russia like screaming. And we had, when we fought, whenever someone from Canada would fight Team Russia, they would like come down and sit next to us and like yell over us. So
Oh,
they were a very intimidating team.
all right. That must have been annoying.
Yeah, it was, especially where we had such a small team. We were like, we just want to cheer our people on. Come on, guys.
Yeah, leave us alone, please. Like a Canadian.
Please, we're from Canada.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, Russia was just, I was scared because I was like, oh, Team Russia is tough. Like they're the real deal. And I came in again, like all these girls were quite a bit shorter than me. Like I am 69 kilos and I'm just under 5'10", so quite tall for the weight category.
You don't know how tall I am?
How tall are you?
I'm like 5'3.5". I take a lot of pride in that half.
In the half, yeah.
Laugh right there.
I think the shorter you get, the more like fractions you go into.
Right? It's like I'm
Yeah.
5'2 3/4". So yeah, okay, you're 5'2". You go on.
Yeah, so fought Russia in the finals, and that was a hard fight. She came forward. She was tough, and like I said, I had already fought twice before within the past like 5 days, and they were high level opponents too. So it wasn't like I was just like fresh, ready to go. I remember like hurting quite a bit between fights, being like, okay, we got to really prioritize rehab here, because the turnover was so quick and the opponents were so skilled that you're not getting through a fight without getting hit.
Yep.
So yeah, going into the finals there against Russia was really cool. And like I said, the fight was very tough. And then at the end, I almost didn't realize what it meant. Like they raised my hand, and I remember like for a split second I was like, woo, like I won the fight. And then like it hit me. I was like, this is not just the fight, like this is the world championship. And I just remember like crying, and like there's so many pictures of me like,
What an exhilarating feeling. It's almost like I did it. I did it. Wow. Because that's pretty much, I mean, world championship at 18 years old. I mean, that's the moneymaker right there. World championship, like you're prepared. You're there. Like you're the elite of the elite at that moment. To take all that in, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a lot, because so immediately after we came out of the ring and they took me to go get drug tested. And so I went and did that. And funny story, they had everyone waiting in line, and then I came in and I had to pee so bad, and everyone else was like, they couldn't go pee. Like some people can't go when they're nervous or whatever. So I got to skip the whole line. It was awesome. And I was like, if you don't let me pee now, like I don't know what to tell you.
It's coming.
So we did that, and then we went back out for the award ceremony. And it was honestly like a really special moment for me when we got up on the stand, or I got up on the stand, and like I said, there was only 4 of us there, and unfortunately, I was the only one to win a medal, and at that, a gold medal. So to hear the Canadian national anthem after being away for weeks, and just hearing like I said, the bigger teams like Russia, like hearing their national anthem over and over and over again,
Right.
it was just so special to finally hear our national anthem.
Those details of just that, just something like that. Constantly hearing the Russian anthem, and then right for world champion, there goes your anthem, the Canadian anthem, singing for you, and you're singing, and all that pride that you're feeling, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like that was one of the most, like, never been so happy to be a Canadian in my entire life. I remember like singing it and just like feeling so happy, obviously. And that was a really special moment. And then it was really hard to stay focused throughout the tournament. Like I was definitely there and focused, but like I said, some of the other team members, they got out a little bit earlier, unfortunately. So then they all got to go and explore the beautiful city of Budapest, and go out on like these little electric scooters and all these fun times. And then they'd come back and I'd see all the pictures and be like, oh, it's so much fun. Obviously, I was there to win, and that was the main thing in my mind. But after I won, I was like, okay, we have one more day here in Budapest. Like, I'm gonna go out and see the city. And we went out on those scooters, and I got to like really enjoy the scenery. Like Budapest was so beautiful. There was like so many castles in the rock and like very old architecture. It was beautiful. But when we went out, turns out there was an award ceremony the last day after everyone had already gotten their gold medals. And they were announcing the male and female boxer of the tournament. And I didn't know this, and I wasn't expecting to win it. But turns out I missed the ceremony that I was supposed to get an award at. So we got
the scooter.
Yeah. So we got a phone call saying like, oh, Charlie won like best boxer of the tournament. I have this, it was Pat Fiacco who called, said he had a thing for me. So I went and met him later that night at his hotel, and I got this beautiful like crystal ball. And it was just like, it was something, because I was like, not only did I come here so much as the underdog, like honestly, even some people who really supported me, like the coaches on Team Canada, like they told me straight up afterwards that like, you know, we watched you spar, and we weren't expecting you to do this well. And like that, it hurt a little bit, but I was like, you know what, I'd rather fight better than I spar than spar better than I fight. So I was like, you know what, prove them wrong. And so then not only did that happen, but then I ended up winning best female fighter of the entire tournament, and I was just like overwhelmed. I was like, holy, like this is incredible. And yeah, I really hold on to that crystal, and I'm like, wow, like this is special. I was at first, I remember being like, oh, they should have made it a belt, because I didn't have a belt and I wanted one so bad. But like, it was still awesome.
Oh, wasn't good enough. I wanted the belt.
Yeah.
I'd like a crystal ball.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, so wow, like what an amazing. So wait, so okay, since you weren't there at the ceremony, there wasn't any like, nobody was backlashing about that, right?
No, because the coaches didn't know either. Like the coaches came out with us when we went out. Nobody knew that I was going to win it. But it was really cool. Pat accepted it on my behalf, and at that point they ended up like kind of like giving a rundown of my performance at Worlds and like talking about it. And I listened back to it afterwards, and I actually ended up not losing a single round in all 3 of my fights at Worlds.
Amazing. So everything was unanimous. Everything was just like, boom, you were the champion of that tournament.
Yeah, everything just fell into place, like I say, with the confidence there. Like, I really think that was the biggest thing for me to overcome there, was like feeling so insignificant at the start, being like, you're going to fight this girl who's already beat you. All these girls have more experience than you. And then when I stepped in against her and took it, I was like, this is my tournament to win. And I did.
I get goosebumps listening to this. 15 years old, and you were able to get into that mindset like, this is mine for the taking. And it's so hard. Like, I understand when you're fighting somebody who you've already lost to, that's so hard. That's a fight in itself mentally, to get in there and try to outperform just against yourself, because you have all these things in your head, and you got to kind of try to shift that thinking into, no, just treat it like it's an everyday fight. Like, who cares who this person is? And that's really hard to do that. And especially at such a young age, and especially at that caliber of the world class. Like, this is such a great story, and I love listening to it. You have surpassed so many of the barriers that are in put, not just for like women, but a young woman. Like, that's amazing. And coming
Thank
from this
you.
small little, like, New Brunswick, like you said, it's an underdog province. And then all of a sudden here births the future youth Canadian world champion. Like, that's amazing. Good.
Yeah, and when we got back, I remember this was probably the coolest part of it all is when I got back. My city is so small, like everyone kind of already knew me as the boxer, but then like the mayor like had like this big thing downtown where I went and I sat on stage and they like congratulated me and gave me like a
Oh,
certificate, and like all my friends and
God.
family came. It was very community oriented, and from that there were so many young girls that came out and were like they came to the boxing club afterwards and they were like, we want to try this out, and I was like, that is so cool.
That's amazing. You're influencing and inspiring the girls in that town. Like, oh my God, check this out. Like, I didn't know that that was even possible, but it is. And you're opening
Exactly.
up that channel for them. Like, wow. Did you cry? Because I would have cried.
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Of course. That's awesome. So I remember, because I was at the same bout, like the show, when you fought Olympian Mary Spencer.
Yep.
So what was that like when you had the opportunity to fight the Olympian?
Yeah, so that was definitely like a really important part of my boxing career thus far. Like I remember um getting ready for this fight and just being like, wow, like this girl was at the Olympics before I was even fighting.
Mhm.
Like it felt so like the whole like make your idols your rivals type thing. Like that's really how I was feeling. And yeah, so leading up to that fight, it was so nerve wracking. So like Mary is a bigger girl than I am for sure. Like I'm quite small for my weight category. I don't cut. So I was like, okay, she's got the experience on you. She's got the reflexes. She's been doing this forever. She's bigger than you. Like you really gotta like I said, like get in there, be confident, and that sort of thing. The fight was in her hometown, which you know how that is. It makes it even that more a bit intimidating because you don't know anyone. Um, and I remember warming up, and Mary came and started warming up next to me and Joe, and she's not dumb. Like she definitely knew what she was doing, getting in here rent free. Like she was there. Um, but I remember I was watching your fight. You fought Amelia that night, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was watching the fights, and it was funny that card only had like 4 fights on it or something crazy
Of
like that.
course,
It was
like, I mean, they were good fights. Like,
they were good fights. They're great fights.
Amelia herself was the youth Canadian champion. Like these were good stacked fights for just a small little show. Well,
Yeah, it was a great card to watch, and yeah, then getting into the ring, I remember they played like this super like I went into the ring first, and then they played this like super long entry for Mary, and she
I
came, she was
remember
walking
that.
around the ring, and I was like, oh my god.
Setting us up, eh?
Yeah. And then yeah, so she got in the ring and we did the whole like get ready, whatever. Then once the fight started, I felt like this is so long ago. I'm thinking back to it, but I remember I had my coach Joe in my corner and my friend Katie, Katie.
Yeah, I know.
Um, so definitely had a great corner behind me, and I thought the fight was really close, honestly. I felt like at the beginning, I typically tend to be a slow starter, which is one of the things that I've been trying to work on this whole time. Is I don't tire easily, but it takes me a while to get like really riled up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
So yeah, the first round, I don't think it went my way. If I was a judge, I would have given it to Mary. The second round was really close round,
Yep.
and I feel like it kind of started off her way and then ended my way. So it was very like she won the first half, I won the second half, in my opinion. And I remember her talking to me in the fight, and so Joe and I, when we were warming up, he was talking to me about how I needed to push the pace because I was younger, I was fit, that kind of thing. My cardio is very good. And she had overheard that. So during the round, she's like, push the pace, like push it, push the pace. And it made me so mad. She knew it was gonna make me mad.
Yeah.
So then I started just like laying in, like trying to like drop bombs, like body shots. We were kind of slugging it out that second half of that round.
Would you say that's been a little bit emotional?
Yeah, definitely. It frustrated me. And I think that's one of the things that like a more experienced boxer as Mary is, was able to like really capitalize on a girl like me who didn't have near as much experience. And yeah, so I think I ended up on like the official scoreboard. I think I ended up losing the first two rounds and winning the third round. And I don't remember if it was a split or unanimous decision, but it was a close fight. And yeah, I also think I mentioned that I sparred Mary before the World Championships. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to go to the World Championships because she busted me open at when we sparred the first time. No, my nose. I thought I broke my nose. I was bleeding all over her, all over me, everywhere.
The blood was everywhere.
Yeah, so like I said, it was another sort of similar to the situation with Poland, a situation where I felt that I didn't do great the first time, so going into the second time was a little bit intimidating.
Right.
So I was like really mad that I didn't win that fight, but it was crazy to even be able to say that I fought an Olympian. I was like so young, so inexperienced, and honestly, the fact that stuck with me the most was that, like I said, she was at the Olympics before I even started boxing.
Yeah. And you know what? That says a lot because you're so young, and just talking to you right now, you're very mature in how you handle all the whole experiences that you've been telling me. You're very mature about it. You have a very good perspective on a lot of things. When I was watching you fight Mandy, I thought like, wow, like she's a young girl stepping in that ring, just doing her thing with an Olympian. And you looked very composed. I mean, of course, like I was hearing in the crowd, like, oh, Mary's talking to her. And I was like, oh no, Mary, right? She comes from that old school, old style boxing, right? Like, just like you said, those intimidation tactics, like, getting warmed up right beside you and saying those little things. Like, she's very boxing IQ right up there. She knows how to do tiny little things, which of course, as you gain more experience, you kind of get more in there, with, I mean, obviously you have so much experience already. Even if you have a low amount of fights, you've had these crazy accomplishments that, nobody can say boo to you. I feel like you had every right to be in the ring with somebody like Mary Spencer because you've been doing so amazing. You deserve to have those experiences, and that's like, something like that fight with Mary Spencer, you held yourself really well. You performed like there's nobody that can deny your performance. I think you did absolutely amazing. And I think that from the character that you have, the mindset that you have, and the ambition and the drive that you have, that there is nothing that's going to stand in your way from accomplishing more than all the other women are doing right now in Canada. And you know what? Like, I can see you winning a world title if you continue pursuing this career going forward into your 20s. I think that
Thank you.
No, I don't thank me. That's the truth. So
yeah,
now
it's
that we're looking at, the fight that you had with Mary, did you guys like talk afterwards?
Yeah, she kind of talked to me a little bit afterwards. We ended up like we were at the same hotel and we talked a little bit afterwards. Like I said, I was a little bit flustered afterwards, but once we got back to the hotel, she was like, "Great fight! Like you're up and coming. Like this is all yours. Like you." I think Mary is on like the elder side of the sport, and like she was able to see like it was really nice to get that perspective from an older athlete at the same weight category as me, kind of being like, you know, like the future is yours. And like, this was a tough fight for me too. And like, it was really like a huge confidence booster, and it meant a lot to me to hear her like speak highly of me.
Of
So
course.
yeah.
Even with her experience, like she sees it too. And her going in there, you know, she obviously felt it and she knows. That's why she can humbly tell you. So like now, because you've now gone to a nationals as an elite since then. Yeah. The last
Mm-hmm.
one in
Yep.
2019. Yeah. How was the
2019. Yep.
experience?
Yeah, so the 2019 nationals was a great experience. That was, like I said, my first time at the elite level. I had been competing against elite since I was younger, but to really be able to be in that same category and have those fights was exciting for me. And my first fight was supposed to be against, I don't know her name, but she was from British Columbia. And just I was warming up for the fight, and my coach came up to me. It was like 20 minutes before I was supposed to fight, and he was like, "It's not going to happen. Like, she's pulled out. I think that she had gotten sick or something, but the fight ended up not happening. So that was kind of a, you know how it is when a fight falls through. It was kind of a barrier to overcome because I was so ready up here, and then it was just
Like climb
everything
back down.
switching up. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So after that, went back to just like my hotel room, and then whatever. The next fight was against Mary Pierre from Quebec, and her and I had fought before at the 2017 Brampton Cup, I believe. And at that time at the Brampton Cup, I wasn't old enough to compete at the elite level. So we fought as a makeup fight, and I ended up beating her in that fight.
Fantastic.
So going into nationals, I was fairly confident, and that worked in my advantage. I think I was able to kind of work on some things that I knew that I didn't do great in the last fight, and things that I wanted to do better, things that I knew that she wasn't strong with versus like what she was strong with. She was a very heavy hitter, short, stocky, that kind of thing. So felt very well prepared for that fight. That was the semifinals. And then from there, ended up fighting Sarah Callie in the finals. And as most people know, I lost that fight on a decision. I really think what my downfall was in that fight was the fact that Sarah was lighter than me, because I didn't have a great performance. It wasn't a great day for me, but I remember feeling like she was just faster than me. And it was so unusual because, like I said, I'm usually the skinny girl in the category. I'm the small girl
Yeah.
that doesn't cut, and everyone else is bigger than me, and I use my speed. So to have someone use speed against me was new.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, so just a combination of her speed and again her experience. She's been on the national team for years. She was able to take that win from me that day, and lost my first nationals.
So you brought home the silver though.
Yeah.
And you know what though? What I was gonna say is you're still young. Like I have fully matured now into my body, and I'm gonna be 26 this year. And it takes sometimes, like I think that I fully got from mature in my body around like just this past year. I've settled into like what my body weight is comfortable. I was still carrying a little bit of baby fat when I was 21, if that it's weird, but it's true. So your body is still going to mature as you get a little bit older and a little bit more experienced, and you're consistently training, because your body is going to form into that mature woman athleticism. And maybe that's the kind of difference that you were feeling between you and Sarah, because she's an older woman than you are, and she's already had that development. She's already set in her body, and she's had, like you said, the experience and whatnot. So she's very comfortable. And as you said, like she felt a little faster, but you're usually the light girl. Just give yourself like some time as your body adjusts to you. You're going to feel like at some point there's going to be a huge difference, very dramatic in the next few years. And you're gonna be like, oh, like I see now my body's like that mature athleticism. You know, you're gonna feel
Yeah. I think after that loss, I really, well, not even after that loss, but just in the last few years, I've kind of been like, I really wanted 2020. Like I was very set on it. I was like, 2020 Olympics, I can do this. And I honestly feel that I could have done it. I lost an unfortunate loss to Mary Pierre, the girl that I just talked about beating in the semifinals at nationals. I lost to her at the qualifiers. I got a nice little scar here to
Oh,
remember it
really?
by.
Wow,
Yeah, I took an elbow and it really just
lovely.
busted me open.
Oh my goodness. So that was at the qualifiers. What was that, the first fight that you had, or?
Yeah, so that was the first fight that I had. I don't remember if I got the bye or if it was, I think it was the quarterfinals of the qualifiers. I had a lot of experience with a lot of the girls in that category. I believe there was only one girl in the category that I hadn't beaten before. So going into the qualifiers, I felt prepared. I felt confident. I didn't feel that I underestimated anybody, but I definitely think that that elbow really like I had a concussion and I was bleeding and it was just like it really threw me off and I tried to fight through it. I remember being like, if I don't drop this girl, like I'm probably gonna lose this fight. And I ended up not being able to finish the fight and I lost the fight. And in hindsight, looking back at it, like I was very like, oh, this is over for me. Like you're not making it to the Olympics. But I mean, funny enough, the world has a way of working out and like March happened and turns out nobody was going to the Olympics in 2020. And I think that honestly would have been harder on me than losing is winning and then still not getting to go. So that was something that I really thought about a lot last year was that like there are going to be many more opportunities and these people that I'm losing to like Sarah Callie, Mary Pierre, Mary Spencer, they're all so much older than me. And I was like, I could do 2024, I could do 2028, I could do 2032. Like there's so many years ahead of me. And I really don't think I came to terms with that and really saw that as a possibility up until even this year.
Wow. So now that you're seeing that though, now you're like, okay, like I have this, like all this time to get prepared for the better version of myself, because every year as fighters, well, as athletes, we always show up the next year. As long as we're consistent, we always show up better than we were the previous year, and you're always ready to take on new challenges. And I think that's great that you see that yourself, that like you have all this time, like you have all this time and you've already had, like, first of all, youth world championship. I don't think that there's any of the girls that you just said, I don't think that any of them's ever had a youth world championship. I don't know if many of them have had a world championship. So
Mhm.
that's huge. That's a huge accomplishment for yourself. And I would not be worried. Like, I have full confidence that you're going to end up making the Olympic team at some point, whether it be 2024, whether it be 2028. Like, you have the time, as you said, you have all the time in the world to make the adjustments, to make the changes that you want, and to develop yourself into that fighter that you're going to be at that point.
Yeah, and like these little bumps in the road really I think got me down in part because of my age and my lack of experience. Like I remember after the Youth World Championships, two of the boys on the team, Talai and Spencer, got to go to the Youth Olympics, and I didn't get to go because they didn't have the 69 kilo division for girls there.
Mm.
So I was like, well, I was the only one that won, and I still didn't get to go. So it really felt defeating. It was like, it doesn't matter how good you are if the sport isn't progressing to
Yep.
include you. And then that following year, it did. They added my weight category to the Olympics, and I was like, okay, like this can happen. So it was a lot of like not getting to go to the Youth Olympics, missing the Olympic trials just by that. Um, it's like it seemed like the end of the world at the moment, and I even took a little break from boxing. Like I haven't fought since the Olympic qualifiers back in December 2019, and I moved to a little like an hour out of my hometown just to kind of like focus on my school and that sort of thing. And I think that I've done a lot of growing since then. And I've realized, like I have like over a decade of time to spend in my peak. And it's amazing what I was able to do before my peak. But now, like that I'm, like you said, growing into my body, I'm gonna have even more potential that I just can't wait to unlock.
That's amazing to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that you see all of the opportunities that you were having and that you're going to continue having, because really honestly, like, you are so young with all this potential in front of you, and it's so lovely to hear the ambition that you have. It's like, when you say I felt like it was the end of the world, and me being older, I'm thinking, but you're just starting, like, because I can say that because I'm a little bit older than you. Like, I know how much time you have, and when you say, like, now I see it, it's like, that's awesome to hear that, because you really do. You have the world at the palm of your hands. The possibilities for you are endless. And as a young girl, this must have taken a lot of toll on you with your social life, with your school. How did you manage that with your competitive side?
Yeah. First, can I just say, wow, like I did not know that you were 26. Like I really thought you were like 21 years old. Like you look
Oh,
so good.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting up there.
So so yeah, in terms of school, like so in high school was when I was really leading up to my world championships, and that was a lot of work and a lot of like time management skills on my behalf. But when I got to university is when I really started to see how that balance was going to get more difficult, because it seemed that every time I went away for a tournament was either during like midterms or exam season. And I remember like missing a couple of exams, and exams are like, you can't just reschedule them for any old reason. So some professors were very like, some professors, like I said, I live in a small city. They followed my career and they were like, oh wow, like this is awesome. And they helped me reschedule, but sometimes it was a lot more difficult, and had to go to like the registrar's building and all that stuff. But
I'm going to
I got
wheelchair.
it all.
Come on.
I know. Got it all figured out. But definitely bringing my work with me on trips and that sort of thing. Sometimes I felt like I couldn't really relate to some of the boxers when I was on trips, because I felt like I was like, I I can talk boxing, and like boxing we related to, but then once you go past boxing, when you're away for weeks, like you can only talk about boxing so much.
Yeah.
And I really felt like I was struggling to connect with like my teammates. But as I got a little bit older and like and started to really like prioritize my school and like have a little bit more of a social life and like find that balance, I was able to like manage it a little bit better. And I think that my social life definitely lacked in some places, like I said earlier, but I wouldn't change it for the world, obviously.
Good, good. Because you know what? Like, part of this whole experience for yourself, being at a high level at such a young age, even though you're doing this sport that's an individual sport, it's also, since you're so much prioritizing it, not just your school and your social life, but also your relationship with yourself kind of goes on pause. You stop thinking about, for example, like, I just want to hang out with my girlfriends. Like, I just want to
Yeah.
my family. I just want to go to the mall or something. You know what I mean? Because you can't, like, you make so many sacrifices. And I understand, you're so young doing that. That's a big sacrifice to make. And that's really bold. And it's really like great that you're able to do something like that. And now that you're kind of sitting back, and now you have this time, as you said, you took some time away after the qualifiers, and you've had some time to think about it. You've had some time to spend that quality time with yourself, and I can see that now you have this great perspective going forward.
Yeah, honestly, like the pandemic, like the loss at the Olympic qualifiers and then the pandemic, like it really seemed like the world was falling apart. And obviously, this is not a great situation for anyone, but I really found that it was good for my personal life and my relationship with myself, because I like throughout high school, I had friends, but I it's like whatever free time I had, I wanted to spend with them.
Mm.
And then I never really figured out who I was. And I had a boyfriend when I was like from the time I was 16 up until like a few months ago. And so I really didn't like spend a lot of time by myself. I was always with someone else. And it was hard, like going from being with people all the time to being alone. But like I said, like I like to step outside my comfort zone a little bit. I picked up and I moved an hour away from home, and I really wanted to just focus on like, who am I? And even outside of boxing, because as much as I love the sport of boxing, like I want to know who I am beyond that. A lot of people see me and they see like especially where I'm from, it's like, oh, you're the boxer. And I am the boxer, but who else am I? So
Right.
I've really taken this past year to try to figure out who I am beyond that, and to even experiment in different sports, just to like go out of my comfort zone and feel that novelty again. Because as I started to get better at boxing, and right now we're not really traveling anywhere, that novelty of being pushed by people who are better than you started to wear off, and I felt like I was becoming that girl that was pushing people to be better themselves, which is fantastic. But it's been really nice to feel that again, to be pushed at something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It takes a lot of growing, and you're at a perfect age right now. You're at a perfect stage in your life where you're experiencing all this. And I mean, it sounds like you've made good with your time in COVID. It sounds like you've really taken this time to really put that attention where it's supposed to be. And like, I'm very sorry to hear about the ending of a very, what it sounds like, long relationship. But I think from the sounds of it, is that you're seeing the opportunity and not really the loss with that. You're seeing like, now it's time for me to be me. Now it's time for me to focus on me. And that's the best thing you can do right now. And I'm very proud of you. Just out of everything that I've heard, I'm very proud of you. And you're going to make Canada, not that you already haven't, because you made us very proud, but you're going to continue making us very proud. And I think that you're going to be a notable name at some point that not just New Brunswick talks about all the time, but I think that the whole nation talks about.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. Thank you very much.
Do you have like any plans? Like let's just say COVID ended tomorrow and now we got nationals, now we got all these other things. What would your future goals with this sport? Actually, not even just with the sport, but for Charlie, what are your future goals going forward?
Okay. Yeah, so right now I'm in university and I'm just finishing up my third year of my undergrad. So I
Sorry, can
have one more year.
I sorry.
Pardon?
Sorry, can I ask you what are you taking?
I'm doing a Bachelor of Science with a major in psychology.
Oh, me too.
Cool.
University.
So yeah, so I'm in my third year now. I have one more year of that, and then I wrote my LSAT in the fall, so I plan to go to law school after that. Um, yeah,
Out.
all the school stuff.
Amazing.
So I'll be in school for the next probably 4 years. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a break from school after my undergrad if things really started to pick up with boxing again, and I felt like I was getting that high level experience. I wouldn't be opposed to putting my law school on hold. I remember a couple years back, the team wanting me to postpone or limit my university to go train with the team in Montreal. As much as that was like an amazing experience, I ended up turning it down because in my books, like my education is always going to come first, just because I love boxing, but I don't want to be a pro boxer. I want to use my head. I want to use my brain and get a good career. So
Hmm.
the time just wasn't right, but I don't think that means the time will never be right. So
Lovely.
I wouldn't be opposed to doing that later on down the road, but I am excited to get at least my undergraduate done with first.
Good for you. A very smart decision to make. I would have made the same decision if I were in your shoes. Very smart decision. Education, I'm a strong supporter of education, especially because you're going for something like a lawyer and all that stuff. Like, amazing. Good for you. So, wow. Do you have anything that you want to tell, let's say a young girl that's up and coming right now in any sport or anything that she's doing in life, and she's kind of in the same position where you are, where she's like, kind of in this growing phase? Do you have anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I remember thinking about this a lot after the World Championships because I really got in that position a few times. Like I had people coming up to me and being like, "What do you want to tell the girls?" And like I even had like a mother like ask me to like sign thing for her daughter to give her for Christmas, and I felt like such a celebrity like at the time,
Of
and
course.
I just it was really really cool to see people look up to me. And um I know that when I was coming up, I looked up to people like Mary Spencer, and to see that like from other girls was really cool. And I think that the biggest thing that I would say is that it really doesn't matter where you come from. Like, it matters what you do and the work you put in, because like I said, like nobody would have thought that I was going to end up at the world championships and winning the world championships at that. I wouldn't have thought it. And but when I got there, I was like, you can do this. And I remember they did like a little kind of interview on me while I was there, and they were like, wow, like what is it like to be here? Like, we know you don't have very much experience. Like, what is it like to participate at the world championships? And I was like, you know what, participating here is like, it's fantastic. Like, I can't even believe I'm here participating, but I didn't come here to participate. I came to win. And they kind of did the whole thing where they bolded it and put it in thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But then when I won, I was like, it's true. Like, I did not come here to participate. And some people will take that and they'll be like, oh, I'm just so happy to participate and be here. And that's great. But like, you really got to believe in yourself and put it in your mind and like, and tell yourself that you're going to win, that like you're not just here to contend, like you're here to win.
Absolutely. And that's a very powerful, I mean, this is why they bolded it. That's a very powerful statement. I came here, I didn't come here to participate. I came here to win. And thinking like that and saying those self affirmations is so powerful to the human psyche. Like, you literally manifested your own success with saying
Yeah.
and really firmly believing that sentence alone. And I think that that's so powerful. And I think that everybody should take a lesson from what you just said. And everybody should look at you as a prime example.
Thank you. Yeah, that it was like I said, that was the thing that I kept telling myself while I was there, and even applying it to different scenarios, different situations. Like, I just always tell myself that I've put the work in, and I can do it. It's just a matter of if I believe I'm going to do it.
Preparation breeds confidence, right?
Hmm.
Fantastic. I'm so honored to have this interview with you. I cannot wait to have another one in the future once everything starts going and once you win the
Yeah.
Canadian title as a sorry about that. As you win the next Canadian title going in as an elite, and I cannot wait to follow your journey going forward.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so excited to compete as an elite. I feel like I really let that first one slip through my fingers, and then,
No,
I
you're
mean,
fine. You're
2020.
gaining experience. That's all. Nothing slip through your fingers. You
Yeah,
know,
it'll come back. I got it.
absolutely. As long as you show up, right? It doesn't matter how you feel. I'm here. I'm prepared. Let's go. Right?
Yeah, even going back to boxing, um, after like I said, I've been on this break, and I moved away, so I haven't been training with my coach. I've been kind of like training. I've been doing track and field is what I've been doing. So I've been working a lot on my cardio, but haven't been practicing boxing skills as much. Just like shadow boxing, that sort of thing, hitting the bag every once in a while. But I went home for a week, and I went to the boxing club, and my coach was like, "You're looking so sharp. Like, have you been going to clubs where in the new city? Like, you look great. Like, you look like you could step in the ring and fight." And I think it goes to show that like that doesn't go away. Like, as long as you're thinking about it, studying it. I watch fights all the time. I love fights. Like I said, boxing bug bites you. Like, you can't stop. But as
Exactly.
long as you have the
Come off.
cardio,
They never come off.
yeah, like as long as you have that cardio, that endurance, and like that want to be in the ring, I really don't think that it'll go away. And I think I have a long time to harness that energy and that potential, and I'm excited for that.
I'm excited too. And you know what? Like, I think that that rest that you were taking probably did a lot good for you too, just to take that mental break for a second.
Yeah, my mind needed it and my body needed it too.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
boxing's hard on the body.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Charlie, for being on here. I'm so happy. I cannot wait for people to hear about this. I cannot wait for people to listen to a young woman's experience at the World Championships. This is just amazing. And then, especially that statement that you made, I didn't come here to participate, I came here to win. Charlie Cavanagh. Thank you so much, Charlie. Can you put your hands up? Thank you so much. Thank you for staying tuned, everybody. Please stay tuned for our next episode for next Friday on the Female Fist. Okay. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.